How's it going, YouTube? This is Skull, and welcome to episode 60 of Zootopia on home video. Starting today, I'm going to be moving to my Zootopia home video adjacent subseries. So these are still, for the most part, going to be official, legitimate products, but not really ones that you could buy in a retail store. Not really something that Disney themselves put out and marketed and put up for sale in the traditional sense. These are very untraditional. And I'm going to be starting with today's video. You guys already saw the title. I'm going to be talking about the Zootopia releases through Redbox. So, the purpose of this channel is mostly to talk about Zootopia. You guys, for the most part, are familiar with what a DVD is and what a Blu-ray is and stuff like that. And I'm sure... I bumped my microphone again. And I'm sure the vast majority of you also know what Redbox is. But there's also going to be people, I'm sure, who click on this video out of pure curiosity. What's Redbox? Well, I'm going to go ahead and explain it. So Redbox was a service that let you rent movies. They were a product where they would have kiosks, like giant machines that they would put outside of literally thousands of businesses. All kinds of businesses. So there would be supermarkets like Walmart and Target and stuff like that. There would be pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens. They would sometimes put them outside of doctors' offices. They would just put them anywhere where there was foot traffic. They would put them pretty much anywhere I could think of except for airports. The idea is that you could just go to any kiosk that Redbox had anywhere and rent a movie from there, and they would give you the kiosk, the machine would spit out a case that looks like this, although there were many case variants, and I'll show some of those off later in the video. And you would have a set amount of time to watch it. If I remember right, usually it was like 48 hours, 72 hours for a weekend, and you would rent it for very cheap. A DVD, for the longest time, was only $1, and a Blu-ray was under $2. So it would give you the disc, you would have that amount of time to watch it, and then, when it came time to return it, you would just go to any other kiosk in the world. Maybe it could be the exact same one that you went to, or it could be one clear on the other side of the country. It doesn't matter. As long as you returned it on time, that's that. It made it very simple and easy to rent stuff in an age where more and more people were streaming instead of going to physical stores to rent. Infamously, Blockbuster was the biggest rental place ever for video rentals, and they did not survive for 5 years after Netflix started to stream. They couldn't survive. Redbox survived mainly by making it so that you had very more reasonable late fees, and you could just pick it up from any kiosk and go to any other kiosk instead of having to go to a proper brick and mortar store and return it to that exact same store. It made it a lot more convenient for people to rent something if they were like on the way home from getting groceries. Let's rent a movie tonight. Why not? Or if they were going to the pharmacy. Let's rent a movie to watch something while I recover. You know, stuff like that. Unfortunately, they did not survive forever. Redbox went out of business in 2024. As of the time I'm recording this, that was just a year ago. There are still many Redbox kiosks all throughout the country that are just sitting there rotting. You cannot use them to rent. A lot of collectors have saved them and turned them into their own personal vending machines for their own personal collection, but the service itself is dead and there's no way to use it anymore. So, how do you handle all of these releases of literally thousands of films, tens of thousands of films? How do you handle the discs that were in all those kiosks? So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that there were, at the time that Redbox went out of business, 1,000 kiosks in the country. And I know there was more than that. Let's just say there were 1,000 kiosks, and each kiosk had, let's say, 20 films. Well, that's 20,000 discs that you got to figure out what to do with them. And you know what happened to most of them? If you can find it, it's yours. The company liquidated all their stuff, and shop owners who had these machines just sitting there were just desperate to get rid of stuff and recoup their losses, and just, it was just such a waste of space and a waste of money. So When Redbox went out of business, suddenly eBay was flooded. Facebook Marketplace was flooded. Kijiji, Craigslist, every online reseller was flooded with these Redbox movies, and they were dirt cheap. I should also make it clear that even before Redbox went out of business, a lot of people would take a movie and then just never return it. Now, they would be charged the price of the movie, but they would still get it long before Redbox went out of business. And Redbox also sold their used movies on their website for a really cheap price as well. Although by the time I found out about that, they had not sold Zootopia specifically in years. So if you're worried about like legal implications, like that sounds really gray. Well, it does, but just letting you know, there were still plenty of ways to legitimately own Redbox movies long before Redbox went out of business. All of that being said, what does that leave with Zootopia? Well, I have these two releases of Zootopia from Redbox. We got the DVD and we got the Blu-ray. They might have offered the 4K as well. I have not seen any evidence of that. Redbox very rarely offered 4Ks because most people didn't rent 4Ks. If you owned the ability to watch 4K, projector, Blu-ray player, 4K TV, then you were not skimping out on renting 4K discs from a Redbox. You were buying them physically or you were streaming them digitally. You were not paying $5 to rent a 4K movie, basically. So Redbox did not really offer 4Ks. So as far as I know, the only ways to get Zootopia from Redbox are the Blu-ray and the DVD. Now, the discs themselves are the same. What Redbox would usually do is get the release straight from the distributor, probably even in a case like this, and then just open up the case, take out the discs, throw away the case. So the discs themselves are the same. They're not like rental copies of the movie. They are the retail copies of the film. They just have this barcode on the inner circle, the circle where you put your finger in to hold the disc properly. And every Redbox release of every film on disc had this barcode. That's how you could tell that it was from Redbox. And yes, there are ways to scratch it off, but still, Redbox knows that you picked it up, so if you don't return it, they charge you for the full price, so it's not really worth it to scratch it off and try and cheat the system or anything. So this is how the kiosks, those machines, would figure out what the movie is. So the way the machine works on the inside is it just has racks and racks of discs. And when the disc is put inside the machine, it goes through a barcode scanner and it reads, okay, this is the disc and this is the shelf I'm putting it on. So when somebody goes to the kiosk to rent a disc, it remembers which shelf it's on and it pulls out the disc and it scans it on the way out just to make absolutely sure that it's the right one. And then when you return it, it scans it on the way in and checks with its database and says, oh, okay, it's this disc written by this person, and now I'm going to put it on this shelf for the next person. So every single Redbox disc, DVD, Blu-ray, and even 4K when they had it, has this. And also Redbox did rent video games. Again, I'm not really going into detail on Redbox today. That's not the purpose of this video. But if anyone's curious, yeah, they rented all kinds of stuff. And all the discs had this kind of barcode. So the DVD has that barcode, and it's very easy to tell on the Blu-ray. But yes, the Blu-ray has that barcode as well. Otherwise, as I said, they're the exact same release you would have gotten here on home video, except it would have cost a fraction of the price. So if all you wanted to do was see the movie once or twice over a weekend, pay $1 or $2 and you could do it. If you wanted to own the movie so you have the chance of watching it whenever you want, plus you get all the bonus features and stuff, although I shouldn't say that because the Blu-ray does have all the bonus features on it. But a lot of releases had a second Blu-ray for bonus features. Regardless, then you would buy the Blu-ray. Then you would buy it. It would cost you $20-$25, but you would be able to watch it over and over and over, and you would own it forever. Rental, you get to own it for the amount of time that you rented it. So 2 or 3 days, you can watch it as many times as you want during that time, but then you got to return it or pay more to watch it more. That's how rentals worked. No wonder streaming completely destroyed them. Now, for $15 a month, you get to watch any film you want that on their service as many times as you want. So, yeah. The only other thing worth really mentioning is that there have been a lot of Redbox cases. So if you do find Zootopia on eBay, well, more often than not, you'll find them loose. In fact, I'm pretty sure I found these very copies loose, and I had to get the Redbox cases later. But Redbox used a lot of cases, and they never really got rid of their old cases. So even until the end, you would see a wide variety of their oldest cases and their newest cases and everything in between. So you might have cases that look a bit like this with the Redbox logo here. Now, this arrow would tell you which direction to put it into the kiosk, and you can see the actual directions down there. The front looked like this, and I don't think there was ever anything on the inside. It was always just a clear case so that you could properly see what the disc is without and the barcode. So yeah. So you would have sometimes a case like this, and that's the kind of case that I put the DVD copy in just because I liked that. You would have a very similar case here where it would still have the Redbox logo, but it's on its side and it would point that way. All kinds of extra stuff here. And then the front would look like this, and the inside would have that on there. Pretty interesting. So this is somewhat of an older case. And then at the end, all the newest cases looked like this. And you can tell this is a bit of a rebrand for Redbox. So a bit sleeker, a bit more minimalistic. Yeah, and then this is what it would look like. Always leave full-handed, get the app, and reserve your faves. So towards the end, they were desperately trying to get people to stay by, offering an app. So this is the most common case that I've seen, but that's because this was the last one that they made, so it's the one that most of the discs are still in that people saved from the kiosks. In any case, there you go. We've got Blu-ray and DVD of Zootopia from Redbox, and they did this for practically every single film. So if you have a favorite film, you should check and see if there's a Redbox DVD or a Redbox Blu-ray on eBay, because likely there is. Like, there are tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of discs on eBay that people saved from Redbox, and now that they're offering just so that people have the chance of owning something that's sort of a bit of a historical item. Redbox may be gone, but the memory will live forever. So that'll bring this video to an end. Thanks everyone for watching. I've still got plenty more to talk about with Zootopia home video in the future, so stay tuned for more.